Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Still. Oh, and Brantley Gilbert.
Let's put the real star in the center. Come on in, Brantley.
How's it going, fella? How are you? Sorry, buddy. That's my fan. Didn't mean to turn my butt to y'all. That was awful.
I was just talking to you before we came in about how much good stuff is happening in your life right now.
Yeah, man. God's been good here lately. It's been a trip.
You want to tell that story, or should we just?
Yeah, well, there was a girl that I met 10 years ago. I'm engaged, by the way. I got engaged in September. But she, thank you. She's flying out tomorrow night. But, I went through some stuff. We were together for about 5 years, and we were young and stuff. And I got to where I was running with a pretty rough crowd. And, you hear all the time, the people that love you the most and are closest to you will stick with you through anything. And, I had some demons I had to get off my shoulders, and I had a little issue with, well, it wasn't a little issue. I had a big issue with drinking and some other things, and I knew I had to get rid of the crap. But when all that was going on and I was running with that group, I found out that, some of the nearest and dearest people to my heart were people that said, you know what, dude, if that's what you're about right now, I can't be a part of it. And, I didn't get to see my godchildren for a little while, and I lost her. And that was some of that loss was what kind of got me over what I was dealing with. But she came back. My cousin called, long story short, and said he had somebody that was interested in talking to me, and he understood if I wasn't, available to open up that part of my life again. And I said, no, I'd love to see her. Just make sure she's okay. And at this point in my life, I'm like, I'm going to be single forever. There's nothing that's going to change my mind. I'm just, that's the way it is. And she walked around the corner, and all the tough guy shit just went out the window.
Hey, we have a lot of special people here. I don't know if Pat filled you in, but we've got a lot of veterans here in the audience.
Thank you.
We wanted to open it up for them today. Oh, well, look, I got a black Brantley Gilbert wristband.
Yeah,
Put that on.
and I can explain that thing to you if you need.
Now you're good.
Now nobody's going to mess with me.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you don't mind, they've got some questions for you.
Excellent.
Is that fine? So we went around the room, and first one is your music is based on your experiences. And you, as a songwriter, you base a lot of stuff on personal experiences. I've read before, that's the only way you can write. So who has actually inspired you, past and present? A lot of my inspiration comes from my papa. And he was really my rock. He passed away in 2009 from a battle with lymphoma. But that was my dude, man. He was... in the beginning, the music thing for me, my family wasn't really, we were the booster club, play sports all the time. When I started riding motorcycles and playing music, it was a little nerve-wracking for them. And I remember I caught so much shit for it. One day he said, he said, come outside with me. And my papa was a deacon in the church, straight ahead, never cussed. He was about family and God and country. And he pulled me outside and he said, so... all jokes aside, do you really think you can turn this into something? And I said, yes, sir. I believe in my heart I can. He said, oh, hell, all right. Well, you don't hear nothing else from me on it. I got you back. And I was like, and that meant so much, and he was kind of the head of the family, and that was when it was a little more, it was okay for the family to support it then, and they'd come to shows and stuff. My aunt's still scared to death to come to a show. She swears the devil lives on stage.
Well, speaking of singles, your new one, pretty great. Can you explain the background, how that was written, and where the idea came from?
I can, and I'll make it as short as possible. It's kind of a long story, and I know we got some vets in here, and this is actually something that I've been wanting to do, because I feel a little out of place with this song. I'll be honest with you. You hear all the time people talk about supporting the military, and for a long time I said I supported the military, and made a habit out of saying that. And then it got to a point, I'm like, well, what do you do to support it? And I'm asking myself these things. So, I've got a military family on my mom's side, and but really, the first time it really kicked in, one of them's my cousin, one of them's my best friend from back home. Both of them went into the Army, and both of them went to Iraq. And really, until then, like that's when the whole actively supporting the military came to play. I was like, well, if I'm gonna say it, I gotta go do it, and I wanted to. And we started trying then to go on USO tours, and we finally got one. Anybody from the label or the management company, anybody from my team will tell you that we watched that whole process turn from being about an album release with just Folds Otter Incorporated. It completely flipped and turned into something that was about the military, and the album was an afterthought. And I was so proud of that. But there was a term that we've all heard called hitting home, and really none of it hit home till my best friend came back. And every time he'd come home, he did 4 tours in Iraq. I actually toured the Rangers on the last one, and he came back, and he was one of the fellas that had some trouble adjusting to life back home. But you know, I didn't understand that stuff. Like I'm crazy. I get being crazy, but that's not crazy. That's a complete reality to him in that moment. And I was blessed enough to be somebody that he felt comfortable talking to. Before, he'd come home and he'd tell me about this dude, John Luton's. It's his war buddy over there. They were gunners on Humvees, 50 cal gunners, and they like stayed together. They were right there with each other, back to back on Humvees through most of their tours. And he actually watched an IED, or they went over an IED, and John blew up in front of him, and that tour when he came home was the last one, and he never went back. And you said earlier, I try to write things. I only write things that I've experienced or been through. But after I heard that story, and the whole thing that I'd been preaching for so long hit home, I felt led, and I felt like I needed to write a song. I couldn't think of anything more deserving than somebody who paid the ultimate sacrifice like that.
The song is one hell of a tribute.
Thank you.
To a couple of people who are great people. And you're right, when you can write something that people can relate to, then you've done something really special and unique.
Thank y'all, man. Appreciate it.